You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast.
I spoke at a conference recently, and a woman approached me afterward. You could tell she was shy, and it was taking her courage to approach me. After introducing herself and telling me her very successful husband suffers from addiction, she looked down at the floor and almost whispered the following statement: "I feel like I'm going crazy." I smiled warmly because I knew exactly what she meant, and I bet you do too. Feeling crazy while loving someone suffering from addiction is one of the many feelings that bonds our community together. I looked at her very sincerely in the eye and said, "You, my friend, are the only sober and sane one in your relationship." As I flew back home, I thought about what I would have told her if I'd had more time. And so hopefully she's listening, but even if she isn't, this message is for you too. A lot of the time, we feel crazy when we accuse the ones we love of drinking or getting high or gambling or cheating or looking at pornography because they flat out deny it. We are almost certain we detected a slur in their voice, so we ask, "Have you been drinking?" And they get upset, accusing us of being dramatic. Or perhaps that business trip that they said they were on didn't seem on the up and up. Were they really where they said they were? You have doubts, so you start questioning the details, and they get mad and tell you you're being paranoid. Or perhaps there's money missing from your bank account. You ask them about it, and they say they already told you, and you're just conveniently forgetting. I can give you example after example, but here's the deal. You're not crazy. You're completely justified to be suspicious. They've lied to you in the past, and so chances are, unless they have a long history of being sober, they will lie to you again. I like to think of addiction as a third party in your relationship. There is you, the one you love, and then addiction. The person you love is naturally a wonderful human. That's why you fell in love with them. But the one you love is being controlled by the third party in your relationship. And trust me, I know this is hard to hear, but right now, your loved one is choosing addiction over you. Addiction needs to lie in order to get away with destructive choices. It has to manipulate and deceive. So, do you just tolerate lying in your relationship? Do you continue to feel crazy? No way. In this community, we believe you are not powerless over this disease. I'm going to read you an excerpt from one of my new favorite books. It's called Atomic Habits, and it's written by James Clear. At first, it might not be clear how what I'm about to share with you pertains to your situation, but hang with me. I promise it will make sense in a minute or two. Here we go. He says, museum curators have been known to discern the difference between an authentic piece of art and an expertly produced counterfeit, even though they can't tell you precisely which details tripped them off. Experienced radiologists can look at a brain scan and predict the area where a stroke will develop before any obvious signs are visible to the untrained eye. I've seen and heard of hairdressers noticing whether a client is pregnant based only on the feel of her hair. The human brain is a prediction machine. It is continuously taking in your surroundings and analyzing the information it comes across. Whenever you're experiencing something repeatedly, your brain begins noticing what is important, sorting through the details and highlighting the relevant cues, and cataloging that information for future use. With enough practice, You can pick up on the cues that predict certain outcomes without consciously thinking about it. Automatically, your brain encodes the lessons learned through experience. Okay, so when I read this, I immediately thought of us because I can't help it. Everything I read, I look at it from the eyes of addiction. What this says to me is that we are not crazy for worrying that our loved ones are up to no good. Our brains are naturally picking up on the familiar cues of addiction, and we are tuning into those cues. The craziness is actually what is in reality our intelligence. It's proof that we are smart, sober partners. And addiction has literally trained us on what cues to look for when our loved ones have lied, or is about to use drugs, or is intoxicated. My point is, hear this. You are not crazy. In fact, you are the opposite of crazy. Trust your gut. Trust your instincts. Don't underestimate the power of your physical reaction. When your body is telling you something isn't right, trust your body. And don't, under any circumstances, let addiction try to convince you you're wrong. Stand your ground. When you trust your gut, you don't need them to tell you the truth because you already know the truth. Addiction came into your life for a very important reason. And a lot of women are constantly asking me, when do I know to trust them? And here's the truth. Your work is to learn to trust yourself first. Once you trust yourself, then and only then can you possibly entertain the idea of trusting another person. Okay, I hope you guys found that helpful. I am your greatest fan and your biggest encourager, and you're not going to do this alone. I'm right here with you, and I'll talk to you next week.
Inside the Love Over Addiction program, Michelle teaches us how to learn to trust ourselves again and what that process looks like. And within each of the modules, you'll find new ideas and trainings to start your own healing and recovery. If you're ready to learn more about the program, go to loveoveraddiction.com/LOA. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Thanks so much. Bye. This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with Michelle's personal thoughts and beliefs. From one woman to another, bonded together by the fact we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.